This is a case about Carly Madison Gregg. Carly Gregg has been charged with murdering her mother, Ashley Smiley, and attempting to murder her stepfather, Heath Smiley. She's also been charged with tampering with physical evidence for removing a camera and hiding it that captured a portion of the events. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll hear testimony throughout the next few days during this case. You'll hear about some secret life that Carly lived. You'll hear that Carly had a secret boyfriend. You'll hear that Carly had a secret iPod, that she had secret social media accounts that she was using to communicate with people on this iPod when her parents had taken her phone away. You'll hear that she was secretly cutting on her thigh using a knife. You'll hear that she secretly had burner phones her mom and stepdad didn't know about that she was using. You'll hear that she had secret weed vape pens and that she was secretly smoking those vape pens and getting high before going to school at times. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not why we're here, though. We're here because of what she did on March the 19th, 2024. We expect that you'll hear that Carly is the daughter of Ashley Smiley, the stepdaughter of Heath Smiley, that Heath and Ashley were married sometime in 2020. You'll hear that Carly's biological father had not been in her life for about a year or more, that he was a known drug user, had violent and angry tendencies. You'll hear that back in January, Carly got in trouble with her parents when they found this iPod, that they got onto her for using these secret accounts and for communicating with people. You'll hear that around the same time that she had this boyfriend they found out about and that they asked her to break up with him and that later they found out she was still seeing this boy. You'll hear at some point that Carly got in trouble at school. She was cheating. She'd found the answers to a test and gave them to the other students. You'll hear that all of this was happening about the same time that they found out Carly was cutting on her legs. You'll hear that as a concerned parent, what they did was they got Carly in therapy. She was being treated for anxiety and stress. You'll hear that she continued smoking those vape pens even after in therapy. So now I want to take you to the real reason we're here and what you'll hear. We're here because on March the 19th, 2024, Carly rode to school with her mother that day. Ashley was a school teacher at Northwest Rankin, taught geometry. Carly was in the 10th grade. You'll hear that morning she got in a little altercation with one of her friends, cussed him out. But what you'll hear, ladies and gentlemen, from the testimony of this friend is that he was so worried about Carly's use of smoking marijuana and so worried about her being high and so worried about her having these burner phones that her mom didn't know about that he felt compelled to tell Miss Ashley Smiley that day. Ladies and gentlemen, after the incident with Carly that morning, you'll hear that he gets in touch with another friend and he's like, hey, you got to keep her distracted so I can go tell Miss Smiley what's going on. Ladies and gentlemen, this friend cared about Carly. He was like, I gotta intervene. I gotta tell her. I'm afraid of what's happening. You'll hear from him that he did in fact tell Miss Smiley. That after 4th block that day, he goes and he tells Miss Smiley, hey, Carly has got these vapes. She's got this phone. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll hear then that Carly Gregg rides in the car home with her mother from school to their house. They leave school sometime after 3:30. They get home a little before 4. You'll hear that when they get inside the house, it's only their 2 dogs, Ashley Smiley and Carly Gregg. Immediately, Carly goes and lets the dogs out. You'll hear testimony that Ashley then goes into Carly's room. You'll hear that while Ashley is in her room, that Carly's still outside. At some point, Ashley finds what law enforcement believed to be the 4 boxes that contain vape pens. Testimony will be that we believe she carried them from Carly's room to her bedroom, went back to searching Carly's room. The evidence will show that almost immediately upon Carly coming inside the house, that she walks straight to her parents' bedroom, that she goes straight to her mom's side of the bed and removes a .357 Magnum from under the mattress. We believe the testimony will be that then she concealed that .357 Magnum behind her back. As she walked through the kitchen, she peeks her head around. We believe the testimony will show that she peeks her head around the kitchen to make sure that her mom hasn't come out of her bedroom. We believe the evidence will then show that she walked with that .357 Magnum behind her back, walked in to her own bedroom, and then fired 3 shots into her mother, killing her. We believe the testimony will then be that that very moment after she shot and killed her mother, she then hides that gun back out of the camera, walks back into that kitchen, sits down on a stool with a gun behind her, picks up her mother's cell phone, puts her mom's passcode into the phone. We believe the testimony will be that then she texts her stepdad and said something to the effect of, "When will you be home, honey?" Testimony will be that then she waited for him to respond. "I'll be a little bit longer." She sends him a thumbs up. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe the testimony will then be that after she puts the phone back down and walks out of sight with the camera, that between the next 45 minutes or so, that the defendant reaches out to or attempts to reach out to about 5 or 6 of her friends. Some were FaceTime, some were text messages. We believe the evidence will show that during this time, she was asking them all for help, trying to get them to come over to her house. She wouldn't tell them why. We believe that one of them's going to say he even offered to call 911, and she told him no. The evidence will also be that one of these friends did in fact come over to help Carly that day. She didn't know why, but she knew that her friend needed help, and she went to that home. We believe the evidence will show that when that friend arrived at Carly's house, that Carly walked to the front door, asked her, "Are you squeamish around dead bodies?" We believe the evidence will show that then she took that friend and showed her her dead mother laying on the floor. We believe the evidence will show that after that, she says, "I put 3 in my mom, and I got 3 more waiting for my stepdad when he gets home." We believe the evidence will show that then she tells this friend, "Hey, why don't you go wait outside in the backyard? My stepdad's about to be home." This friend will testify that she does go in the backyard and she hears gunshots. And the next thing she sees is Carly coming out of the back door. We believe the testimony will be that she fell down coming out of the back door, gets up and tells her to run. And these 2 individuals, this friend and Carly, jump over the fence and run separate directions. You'll hear testimony that there was a 911 call. You'll hear a frantic Heath Smiley telling the dispatcher, "Oh my God, she's killed her mother. She hit me in the neck, it grazed me, she tried to kill me too, she's run off." You'll hear from law enforcement when they arrived on the scene that Carly Gregg had fled the scene. You'll hear from law enforcement that when they arrived on the scene, Ashley Smiley was very much dead in the floor in Carly's bedroom, and that they found that Heath Smiley had been shot and hit in the shoulder, through and through. You will hear from law enforcement that sometime after the day of the event, they learned that there was cameras involved, that this home had surveillance video. You'll learn that one of those videos was turned over by the living victim, Heath Smiley, and it shows Carly Gregg and her friend jumping over the fence. And then you'll learn that there was another camera in the house on March the 19th, 2024. That camera was in the kitchen, and that's the camera that Carly was hiding the gun out of sight of. And you'll hear that that camera was not in the kitchen when law enforcement got there, and it was not in the kitchen where it should have been when Heath Smiley got there. It wasn't until sometime later that that camera was discovered. Ladies and gentlemen, you will hear that Ashley Smiley's cause of death, gunshot wounds to the head. Ashley Smiley's manner of death, homicide. You will hear that Heath Smiley says, Carly Gregg is the one that shot at me. And on his 911 call, he said that she tried to kill him. You'll hear him say that he did not move that camera, the only other person living in the home. Ladies and gentlemen, you also hear from forensic scientists from the Mississippi Forensics Laboratory. You'll hear that both of Carly Gregg's hands tested positive for gunshot residue, both the right and the left. You'll hear that the .357 Magnum that was used to kill her mother and shoot her stepfather, they took swabs. They took a swab of the trigger, and they took a swab of the hammer. And you will hear that the DNA profile that matches those swabs belongs to Carly Gregg. Ladies and gentlemen, you will also hear that there were 2 projectiles removed from Carly Gregg's mother, Ashley Smiley. One in her brain, one in her neck. And that those projectiles were tested with ballistics, and that those projectiles matched the .357 Magnum that Heath Smiley took out of Carly Gregg's hand that day on March the 19th, 2024. And ladies and gentlemen, at the end of this trial, after you've heard the evidence, the state will stand before you, and we will ask that you find Carly Gregg guilty of murder, attempted murder, and tampering with physical evidence. Thank you, Your Honor.
Does the defense wish to make its opening now, or do you wish to defer?